There's a lot of platform jumps to make through this area, some of which you can see right there. The turtle shells will fall once you jump on them. So just be very careful and very quick while making it through this. Once again, you won't lose a life, but you'll have to backtrack some when you do fall. The next area of the level is this long river that you have different things you can jump on, whether or not it's logs, or you can actually jump in the water yourself. The thing is, it moves relatively quickly in the current. Some of the best way to get through this whole area is just to stand in the water yourself, and you'll be able to duck under or get under most of the platforms. Certain ones you will have to jump over, like the ones that are just at the very bottom on the top of the water level, but anyone above that, you'll be able to duck underneath of it and go through it, so you don't have to actually jump on it. You can use this to your advantage just to kind of avoid most of the battles. Like for example, right there, instead of jumping up and fighting that enemy, I was just able to stay under the water and be able to go right through it. Sometimes the consistency of which ones you can go through and which ones you can't is a little hit or miss, but it'll take some practice, but usually I find this to easily be the best method of getting through this whole area. Like right there, I should have probably been blocked by those blocks, but instead, being in the water itself, I somehow went right through them. When we get down to this area, watch out for the enemy throwing the boomerang at you. The real threat here is the puffer fish that you can see, the spiked fish. What happens is they'll jump out of water very slowly and go only a couple inches to the left or right. And usually what you have to do is slow up right before you get to them and then make a big jump over them to avoid them. Thankfully, by attacking this frog, I got probably one of my favorite abilities. You can see I only have 7 of it. What I do is I fly in the air in a big rolling position. What that's going to allow me to do is defeat this boss really easily. So here's the third boss of the game. It's this large flying frog enemy. Once he's in the air, I use my rolling ability, and then I just stand here at the very lower right corner, keep jumping up and using the ability, and every time I use it, I end up delivering 2 hits of damage to him. So you have this move, just keep doing it over and over again until you run out. Once you're out of it, you're probably going to have to hit him 3 or 4 more times. So move over to the left side of the screen, avoid the bubbles, and just jump straight at him with a jump kick. As you can see, after only a couple more hits, he's defeated, and we can go on to level 4. Level 4 takes place in a couple unique terrains. We start off with like this jungle forest area, then we're going to be on top of a snowy mountain, and then we end up on the clouds for the final area of the level. Remember, at any point if you have any enemies that you have trouble with, just do a charged up ability to them, and you should be able to kill them with one blast of the power-up move. For the Abominable Snowman enemies that pop out of the ground and throw a large snowball at you, just get very close to them once they pop up, and wait for them to throw the snowball completely over your head in an arcing way, and then you'll be able to deliver a quick hit to them to defeat them. Use your charged up abilities on the tigers if you want, or just get close to them and knock them away with your fist. Once you get to the end here, we jump on this cloud and it takes us up into the sky. The controls in the cloud area will take a couple of seconds to get used to. You're always going to be bouncing off the clouds, but to get a higher jump, what you're going to have to do is press the jump button right before you start springing off the clouds. And that'll allow you to do a bigger jump, so it'll allow you to get to farther away platforms. It'll take a few tries to get used to it, but once you do, you'll see that you can use it to maneuver around most of the enemies in this area. Now right here, I'm going to show you the second of the bonus games. In this bonus game, we have wooden statues that pop out of the ground, and you have to hit them before they're allowed to hit you and go back into the ground. This is probably the hardest of the mini-games, because you only have a couple seconds to hit them, and sometimes when one comes out of it, you're not going to be close enough and actually able to hit it. So you'll end up being knocked away from it, like that. I wasn't able to get close enough, so I ended up taking a hit from it. You have to destroy as many of these things as you can within the time limit. After the time has expired, your points get racked up and you get extra lives, extra health, or extra power-up abilities. Once the bonus game is over, we start back off in the level just where we were, and now we have to deal with some more of those puffer fish that we had to deal with in the previous level, except now they're flying in the sky. So far, the ones we had saw earlier on in this part of the level were pretty easy to get around, but these are going to take a little bit of practice, because you may have to wait a couple seconds for them to move farther down their platform. And see, like that, unfortunately I jumped right into it. When we get to the end, you can see this giant cloud formation at the end of it, and that ends up being our boss for this stage. You're trying to avoid his hand as much as possible, and once his eye opens up, then you're able to deliver hits to him. So use your charged up special move if you want to, or use your special kick move, whatever one you do have. Use it all up until you run out of it, and then once you have, keep avoiding the hand at all costs, and then just delivering quick normal hits to him. After only a few of them, you'll see the eye getting redder and redder, and once it's solid red, you only have 1 or 2 more hits, deliver them, and you've completed level 4. This is level 5, the last level of the game, and it's pretty much the longest level, I think, in the game as well. Most of the enemies are pretty much the same ones we've been dealing with, but there is a few platforming elements, and we have some sub-bosses to deal with. Now before we continue on, I'm going to show you the third minigame. In this minigame, we have to hit a certain amount of fish within the time limit, as many fish as we possibly can. So just keep moving back and forth, left and right, and destroy as many fish that you can. You're going to get the same 3 bonus items at the end of it, just like we did in the previous levels. Once we're back in the actual stage, you'll see that the whole room ends up getting dark. And only when one of the enemies with the torches is on screen will you actually be able to see. Some of these enemies are annoying, so you're going to end up having to take them out while they're in your path. For the most part though, you won't end up falling into any pitfalls during this, it just can be a little bit challenging to navigate at certain parts. Thankfully, the other enemies in the level, besides the ones that light the torches, you should be able to see relatively well and be able to take them out or avoid them altogether, so you won't take any damage from them. Duck underneath these puffer fish if you can in order to avoid them, wait for it to go by before continuing. Jump over the mace balls, and then you have a couple more of these jumping statues to deal with. Once we reach the top here, we move on to the next area of the stage. In this area, as you can see, there's a lot of conveyor belts to jump to, so you have to be very careful and very quick when you're jumping on them so they don't actually get launched off the conveyor belt right into a spike or an enemy. The nunchuck enemies are probably one of the more annoying ones that fly around, so avoid them if you can, or take out the barrel that shoots them out. Just like the ice level from earlier in the game, if you can take the upper path, do it to try to avoid some of the enemies. In this area of the stage, you can see that the screen's scrolling again, just like it did in a previous level, and we have to avoid the lava pits again. Just be careful while making your way through this area from the enemies that are going to be a little bit of an annoyance, and the screen thankfully doesn't scroll faster and faster as you move on. Here's probably some of the harder parts, waiting for the turtle shells to come out of the lava so that you can jump on them, make your way over the lava pits, and just take your time. You should have no trouble here. In the next area, we have these large amount of electrical currents going through these bars here. Once you see that they light up, wait a few seconds for them to disappear before going through them. When there's no electricity going through them, you can easily jump through them and not take any damage. Sometimes you're going to have to wait on a platform way below in order for it to disappear before continuing on.